A cloud of suspicion, the question of Trump as a Russian asset. The question has lingered like a shadow over Donald Trump's political career. Is he a Russian asset? This question, once relegated to the realm of conspiracy theories, has taken on a new urgency in the wake of Trump's re-election in 2024. Trump's consistent pattern of pro-Russia behavior, both before and after the invasion, has fueled speculation and debate, while definitive proof of a formal relationship with the Russian government remains elusive. The question itself raises profound concerns about the vulnerability of democratic institutions to foreign influence. This video will delve into the complex issue of Trump's relationship with Russia. We will examine his actions, statements and policies through an objective lens, considering arguments from both his defenders and critics. Our goal is not to arrive at a definitive answer, but to provide a nuanced understanding of the evidence and its implications for the future of American democracy. The stakes are high. If a former U.S. president were indeed compromised by a foreign power, it would represent a grave threat to U.S. national security and the integrity of democratic processes. Even the perception of such a compromise can erode public trust and sow discord within society. Therefore, it is crucial to engage in a thoughtful and informed examination of this critical issue. Beyond the spy defining a Russian asset in the 21st century. Before we delve into the specifics of Trump's actions, it's essential to define what we mean by Russian asset. The term often conjures images of Cold War espionage, clandestine meetings, coded messages, and double agents. While such scenarios are impossible, the modern geopolitical landscape demands a broader understanding of how foreign influence operates. A Russian asset in today's world may not necessarily be a trained spy taking direct orders from the Kremlin. They could be an individual, wittingly or unwittingly, advancing Russian interests through their actions, words, or policies. This could manifest in various ways, such as promoting pro-Russia narratives, amplifying Russian propaganda, disinformation campaigns. This can involve downplaying Russian aggression, questioning the legitimacy of Western institutions, or sowing discord within NATO alliances. Undermining Western unity, sowing discord among Western allies, weakening international coalitions against Russia, or obstructing efforts to provide aid to Ukraine, providing economic or political support, enacting policies that benefit the Russian economy, such as lifting sanctions, or facilitating business deals with Russian oligarchs. It's crucial to recognize that these actions can be undertaken consciously, with full awareness of their implications, or unconsciously, driven by personal biases, financial interests, or susceptibility to manipulation. The key distinction lies in the pattern of behavior and its alignment with Russian objectives. Early signs. A pattern of pro-Russia behavior emerges. Concerns about Trump's relationship with Russia predate his presidency. Throughout his career as a businessman and later as a politician, Trump consistently expressed admiration for Vladimir Putin and the Russian model of leadership. He frequently praised Putin's strength and decisiveness, often contrasting it with what he perceived as weakness and indecision in Western leaders. This admiration for Putin coincided with a deep skepticism of NATO, the cornerstone of Western security since World War II. Trump repeatedly questioned the value of NATO, deeming it obsolete and complaining about the financial burden it placed on the United States. He also criticized NATO allies for not spending enough on defense, suggesting that the U.S. might not come to their aid in the event of a Russian attack. These early signs, while concerning, could be dismissed by some as mere rhetoric, or a reflection of Trump's unconventional foreign policy views. However, they laid the groundwork for a series of actions and statements during his presidency that would further raise alarm bells about his stance on Russia. Section 4. The Helsinki Summit, Doubting U.S. Intelligence on the World Stage. Perhaps no other event during Trump's presidency crystallized concerns about his relationship with Russia more than the 2018 Helsinki Summit. Standing alongside Vladimir Putin, Trump publicly doubted the conclusions of his own intelligence agencies, which had unanimously concluded that Russia interfered in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Trump's words sent shockwaves through the American political establishment and beyond. He appeared to side with a foreign adversary over his own intelligence community, undermining the credibility of U.S. institutions on the world stage. This unprecedented display of deference to Putin further fueled speculation about the nature of their relationship and whether Trump was compromised in any way. The Helsinki summit became a defining moment in Trump's presidency, solidifying his image among critics as sympathetic to Russia and willing to appease Putin even at the expense of American interests and alliances. It also highlighted the potential dangers of Trump's worldview, which seemed to prioritize personal relationships and transactional diplomacy over traditional alliances and democratic values. Section 5. A seismic shift. Trump's impact on U.S. foreign policy towards Russia. Trump's presidency marked a significant departure from decades of bipartisan consensus on U.S. foreign policy towards Russia. Since the end of the Cold War, successive U.S. administrations, both Democratic and Republican, have viewed Russia with a mix of caution and engagement. They recognize the importance of dialogue and cooperation, but also acknowledge the need to contain Russian aggression and defend democratic values. Trump, however, eschewed this nuanced approach, opting instead for a more transactional and often contradictory stance. On the one hand, he expressed a desire to improve relations with Russia, even suggesting that the two countries could be great friends. On the other hand, during his first term, his administration imposed new sanctions on Russia, expelled Russian diplomats, and provided lethal aid to Ukraine. This inconsistency created confusion and uncertainty among allies and adversaries alike. It also raised questions about whether Trump had a coherent strategy for dealing with Russia, or whether his actions were driven by impulse, personal relationships, or other factors. Section 6. Savvy moves. Trump's response to the Ukraine invasion. The Russian invasion of Ukraine provided a stark test of Trump's relationship with Russia and his approach to foreign policy. In the lead-up to the invasion, Trump repeatedly praised Putin's actions, calling him smart and savvy for recognizing the independence of two breakaway regions in eastern Ukraine. He also criticized the Biden administration's handling of the crisis, suggesting that he could have prevented the war if he were still president. Trump's comments drew widespread condemnation from both Democrats and Republicans, who accused him of emboldening Putin and undermining efforts to deter Russian aggression. His continued praise for Putin after the invasion, even as Russian forces committed atrocities against Ukrainian civilians, further cemented his image as sympathetic to the Kremlin. Trump's response to the Ukraine invasion highlighted the dangers of his worldview. His willingness to overlook or even praise authoritarian aggression, coupled with his disdain for traditional alliances and multilateral institutions, posed a significant threat to international order and the future of democracy. There may never be a smoking gun that definitively proves Donald Trump is a Russian asset, but the circumstantial evidence, behavioral patterns, and strategic alignments form a mosaic that deserves scrutiny. Whether by design or coincidence, Trump's impact on U.S.-Russia relations, and on American democracy itself, has been profound. As we piece together the puzzle, one thing becomes clear: the influence of Trump's actions and rhetoric has reshaped the geopolitical landscape in ways that are still unfolding. His willingness to praise authoritarian leaders, question established alliances, and cast doubt on U.S. intelligence has sown seeds of uncertainty and division. So perhaps the more urgent question is not whether Trump is a Russian asset, but whether the system can withstand another figure like him. The resilience of democratic institutions, the strength of international alliances, and the vigilance of an informed public will be tested as we navigate this new era. As history continues to unfold, it will be crucial to remain vigilant, questioning, and engaged. The lessons learned from this period will shape the future of democracy and international relations for years to come. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analyses on global politics and current events.